It's always good to feel your energy, the love, the beauty that's flowing from you. That's God in you. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. I got a song on my mind this morning. You must not know about me. You must not know about me. Have another you in a minute. You must not know about me. You must.
You know what? He sounded kind of empowered, didn't he? In that Beyonce song, you're like, yeah, I can have another you in a minute. You're replaceable. But really, what is that saying? You're replaceable. What you're saying is, what you really should be saying is, yeah, I could have another you in a minute, but I really need to focus on what I'm doing in this minute. I keep creating the situations. Yeah, I can replace you to get another just like you, but what I want to do is step back in this minute and say, wait, what am I creating for myself? What drama, what life am I creating for myself? Yeah, you're replaceable. I had something on my mind this morning too. You knew you had me. With your sensuous charm that you looked so alone as I walked on by. In awesome wonder, you had to know why I did not respond to carry on. Love me in a special way. What more can I say? Love me now.
Now this is one of my all-time favorites. But this song is highly problematic, right? Now we talked last week, we talked about a special relationship versus a holy relationship. And this song is saying, you thought you were so cute. You knew that everyone would be into you because of who and what you are. But when I came around, I just walked by. I didn't even pay any attention to you because I need you to love me in a special way. Because I'm special. I'm not like these other people. If you're going to love me, you got to put me on some special pedestal. But what we know to be true is that a special relationship is an ego relationship. See, only the ego is seeking to be put on a pedestal. We actually know what's true is that we're one. We're equals. Nobody is above any other. And so when we're seeking to be loved, when we're seeking to be in love, it's not about being loved in a special way. But again, as we talked about last week, it's actually loving from a holy place. Whole, W-H-O-L. E, whole. Two whole people coming together. So I'll love you in a whole way. I can't love you in a special.
I'll take it.
So, we are in week 3 of our series, Write Your Own Love Song. From week 1, we took the topic, love the one you're with. And we looked at self-love and self-care and self-compassion. And that's the foundation that you have to start from with any relationship. If you don't love yourself, you can't love another. It's just, it doesn't work, right? And even in relationship, you must continue to honor yourself. Because many times we do well when we're by ourselves, loving ourselves, and then we get in a relationship, and then we try to put ourselves on the cross and do all of these things for other people. Last week we came from the topic, no more drama. And we talked about how to have a drama-free relationship. And Pastor Yolanda and I shared with you the journey that we went on to come for the love and service agreement to come through us. And we posted that on Facebook. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's there. And we hope that you're using that as inspiration to craft and something for your own life and something for yourself to move above and beyond the drama. And so now we're here in week 3, the second time around. And what I thought about as we were preparing this message, I thought about A Course in Miracles. There's a lesson 289 in A Course in Miracles that says, the past is over, it can touch me now. It's one of my favorites. But what's interesting to me is that in the lesson, the first line of the lesson says something even more profound. It says, unless the past is over in my mind, the real world must escape my sight. And what I think is interesting about that, if we talk about the second time around and in the context of a relationship, if you want to begin a relationship again, and maybe you had an experience with someone, as we talked about in our relationship, where the first time we were together was very special. But we wanted the second time that we came together to create a holy relationship. What we understood and what we must begin to understand is that we have to stand in this place of releasing the past. Saying, as the Course says, the past is over, it can touch me not. But what's more profound is that unless the past is over in my mind, which that's the only place the past exists. I don't know if y'all do that. You know, a lot of times we talk about, but she did, but he did, but she said, but that doesn't exist. It's gone. It's only here. So that's the only place it can change. But unless it's over in our minds, then the real world must escape our sight. And I believe that's what we're searching for. We're searching for a real love. We're searching to experience love as it can be in its biggest and highest form and experience. That's the real world. But we must let go of the past and shift it in our mind. And so what I began to realize and recognize is that as we talk about the second time around, what we're really talking about is freedom from the past. That's what the second time around really represents. So, again, for those who missed the message last week, it's online. I really hope that you go and see it on YouTube or check it on iTunes. But I'm gonna speak a little bit about that. We talked last week again about how our relationship when we were together the first time was very special. I know that's fun. And we came back together. We broke up for 6 months. And I promised last week that we would talk about what that journey was about. How did we come back together? You know, we said that when we came back together, we wanted to do things differently. But how do you get from having a special relationship, breaking up for 6 months, with it wasn't like we were taking a break, like let's see what happens after 6 months. It was over. We had no thoughts or desires that we were going to come back together. But what I recognize is that before we can get to that part of what brought us back together, I think it's important that we paint a picture of who we were when we came into the relationship the first time. I think that's very, very, very critical. Because when you understand who and what we were, and as we understand who we were and what we believe to be true about our lives and about ourselves, then it becomes very easy to see how and why it was a special relationship and what we had to shift and change. So I'm going to let you paint that picture for us.
We're in 2009. Who we were, we had some very strong beliefs separately. You know, a belief is just a thought that you keep holding and playing over and over in your mind until it becomes your way of life, your thinking, the way you act, the way you respond to things. So let me tell you about the beliefs that I held in 2009. I believed that beautiful relationships existed, but I wasn't worthy of others. I believed that men cheated and they could not be trusted. I believed that men always disappointed, always. And I had a long history of things to back that belief up, right? And so it kept perpetuating the belief. It began as early as my father. Men disappointed me. And the only person I could trust, because men disappointed me, was me. And so I must protect myself at all costs. And so with those beliefs, I, in 2009, was ending a long-term relationship that was mostly drama and little joy. You can see why, right? These are the beliefs that I held. And so in my mind, in 2009, I was going into what I call romantic hibernation. I was going to cut myself off from the possibility of making the same mistake again. And that's where I was. Those beliefs, in my mind, isolated from God.
Now, what I believe to be true, there was something very profound, and I hope that this helps someone as we talk about this. Because I recognize that there was a deeply held belief that I had that I disappoint all the women that I love. It's interesting because she had a parallel belief. Now for me, where that came from, as a child, when I got in trouble, it wasn't really bad until someone said, I'm going to tell your mother. If I got in trouble in school and I had to call my mother, or even if I got in trouble at home with my dad and he would say, call your mother at work and tell her what you did. This created a level of shame within me that I began to perpetuate and play out over and over again. And so the women that I loved, the woman that was closest to me, I had this programming that I always hurt the ones that are close to me, that I always disappoint the ones that are close to me. That's what I believe to be true. But Yolanda and I met, and we immediately hit it off. I mean, it was almost strange. We kind of kept looking at each other like, did we know each other before or something? Because it just clicked for us. And what you see, the way we are now, we have been like this since the day we met. That ease that we have, and so it was scary. And so I kept saying to myself, this is too easy. Like, okay, this is nice now, but something's gonna happen. Either she's gonna find out I'm crazy, or I'm gonna find out she's crazy. something has to happen. You know what I'm saying? It's too good to be true. And so what I recognize is that we held this shared belief that this is what we want. We met each other and knew that there was something special here. We met each other and knew that this is my other. I'm seeing myself, right? But our history and our experience said that we always get hurt. Our history and experience said that it doesn't always work out. And so that is what we began to create from.
I mean, it's beautiful now looking back on it, right? We're like, we really were each other's mirror. I believed that they disappointed. He believed he was going to be a disappointment. So therefore, what did we create? Disappointment. Validation for our beliefs. And see, relationships are a great opportunity to change what we believe. Because there are things that source, the universe knows about us, that contradict whatever beliefs that we have ingrained in ourselves, that have been ingrained by our experience. Source has a different idea about us. There's so many things that we don't understand that source does. And we're going to talk about a few of those things today that God, that source knows, without a shadow of a doubt. One, we are safe. See, the ego loves the idea that we're operating in this relationship from a place of fear and insecurity, and we become defensive. We guard ourselves. We go into romantic hibernation. And we're trained by our society to defend our position, our families, our friends. We're trained to defend everything about ourselves, a separate self. And we think that this defense will protect us. It will keep us safe. It will give us strength. It'll be our self-preservation, survival of the fittest. We've all heard these terms, right? And the real problem is not the idea of attack. It's the belief in separation, as opposed to innocence. The belief that we are separate from our source, and therefore the cycle of I have to defend myself because I'm being attacked. Attack, defense, attack. It is a cycle that goes on and on. But what the Course says, and I love this, in my defenselessness, my safety lies. In my defenselessness, my safety lies. Now this is counterintuitive, right? To what we've been told about relationships, any kind of relationship, romantic or otherwise. But there's no peace of mind when you have a danger or threat. And defenselessness is strength. It testifies that we recognize that there is a light within us, there's Christ within us. Today's lesson was really timely. It said that God is the strength in which I trust. God is the safety in every circumstance, whatever you call that, God, the source. And there's a place within you that is perfect peace. There's a place within you that nothing is impossible. There's a place within you that the strength of God lies. Now, we're not talking about succumbing to some outside force, some superior being that's looking down. We're talking about aligning yourself with your higher self. That's where your strength lies. There's no need to defend.
So what does the source know about us? It knows that we're safe. We have nothing that we need to protect. There's nothing that we need to defend. What else does the source know about us? It knows that we are blameless. We have nothing to be ashamed of, and we've done nothing wrong. Which is interesting because, again, as we talk about the passes over, it can touch me not, as we talk about the second time around, as we talk about beginning again or choosing again in the context of a relationship, any relationship, you have to first stand in that place of forgiveness of self and recognize that you're blameless. Something else that's completely radical to me that A Course in Miracles teaches, it says that God does not forgive. Why would it say that? God doesn't forgive because God doesn't condemn.
Yes.
Powerful, right? And so from the eyes of source, from the eyes of ultimate love, from the eyes of peace, bliss, again, call it what you will, It sees you as blameless. It sees you as having no need of shame. And so I say that in the context, as I was speaking to the shame that I was holding in my life and continuing to create from that place, continuing to shame myself through different events. But I know to be true now is I have nothing to be ashamed of. Therefore, I do not need to create shaming events in my life. I'm free. Because I recognize that God does not condemn, so why on earth would I condemn myself? If the universe, the all in all, the cosmos, all that exists, all that I can see, and all that is beyond my sight, all that is known and all that is still mysterious to me, does not condemn me, who am I to condemn myself? I have nothing to be ashamed of. Be blameless.
You're safe. You've done nothing wrong. And this one always gets me. We are as God created us. And this is a central theme in the verse. It speaks about it all over the place. I am as God created me. And this one thought, this one idea, if you could hold it in your mind long enough to realize, yes, I'm in this physical form, but something is coming through me and something created me. I'm an extension of that power. And if I'm an extension of that power, then I am as it created me. I can't alter that. That's where the truth, that's where the strength lies. That we are sinless, blameless. We cannot change ourselves. No matter how hard we try, we have tried. We have tried to hold all the things and mistakes that we made, the beliefs that we held against ourselves. The problem is we don't believe that we're as God created us. We believe that even if God created us whole, we messed it up somewhere along the way. And there's no way I can fix it. But I'm here to tell you that's not true. We share our stories about our fear-based behavior, coming from those beliefs, those ingrained ideas. We cannot be corrupted. We can make mistakes. I'm not saying that we haven't done things wrong, but we are as God created us. And this belief is where the power is. You can walk through any situation and say, yeah, I did make that mistake, but I still as God created me. I can't do anything wrong. I'm safe. And from a place of safety, and sinlessness and blamelessness and being in perfect harmony with all of creation, I can open my arms to love.
So I want to go back to the story. So we talked about who we were, and we can understand clearly with those fears, with those beliefs, with those limiting beliefs, we know what we create. We created hurt, we created pain, we created trauma. We created confusion. We created disappointment. We were living in the cause and effect of life. And so 6 months, we broke up and for me, I'll speak from my point of view. I had already started dating, I had moved forward. And we were still friends, but there was no possibility of us coming back together. And then one night, I woke up very early, it was probably around 4:30 in the morning. I woke up kind of alarmed, and immediately Yolanda's on my mind. And it wasn't just that she was on my mind. It was as if she was present in the room with me. It was very creepy, honestly. And in that moment, when I was checking in, because, again, we were still friends, and I still cared about her, I said, I'm checking in. I'm like, maybe something's wrong. I'm thinking, something's happening. And so I kind of checked in within my spirit to just see if I could sense and feel if there was danger. And I felt that she was at peace, that there was no danger, there was nothing wrong. And so I'm like, what's going on here? Why am I feeling this way? And why does it feel like she's here in the room with me?
On the other side of town, the very same night, I woke up out of a deep sleep. And I said his name, I sat up and I said, Greg. And for that same 6-month period, I wasn't there. I took the opportunity to do something I didn't do in 2009. I focused on me, on my physical, my spiritual, my emotional love of me. And so I had decided at that point, it's about time to start dating. So earlier that week, I sat down and I wrote out the qualities that I desired in a relationship. And with all of the passion and fervor and the feeling tone that I could muster, I wrote it out. This is what this person would say to me. This is how that experience, that relationship would feel. And I wrote it out and I put it aside. So to wake up 3 days later with his name on my mind, sent me into confusion and anger and frustration. And I was so pissed off that I felt anything. And so what did I do? I did what we say here, when your mind is clouded, get still. And so I went into prayer and meditation. And after that, I felt peace and I felt sleep.
And so, again, other side of town, I'm in my bedroom like, what's going on? Like, why am I thinking about this woman? And what began to happen to me was, it was as if my life began to flash before my eyes, but not my whole life. It was our life, our relationship. And everything that had taken place in our relationship before then began to make sense. See, while we were together, people would always talk about this special thing that we had. People would always tell us that there was something powerful that we were going to do on the earth. People would tell us, you know, perfect strangers, homeless people on the street would see us and speak a word of life into us about who and what we were and who and what we are as a couple. But I would dismiss it. I was like, okay, that was I didn't want to believe any of that. But it all began to make sense. And I just felt completely arrested. And what I knew was that I needed to tell her what I was feeling. One, this is huge. I needed her to know how much I loved her. Something that I would not say to her when we were together.
Wow.
Out of my own fears. Because I had this whole story about how I always said I love you first, and you know, I fell too quickly and all those things. That was my story. So I wasn't going to be the first one. I wasn't going to do that. Right? So the first thing I wanted her to know was I love you. And I get it now, I understand. Even one of our last conversations before we broke up, she said to me, she was like, Greg, all of the stuff that happened, all of the things that we were told are real, they're true. And again, I just dismissed it, I kind of laughed it off and changed the subject. But I understood it now, and I wanted her to know that. But more than just wanting her to know that, it didn't matter to me, I wasn't requiring her to do anything. Because again, I was already dating, so I knew I needed to have that conversation and say, you know what? I gotta move on because what I'm feeling, I need to deal with this, right? But there was a fearlessness. I didn't know if she was dating. I assumed that she was. I didn't know what was gonna happen. I just knew that she needed to know, and I needed to say, without fear, without hesitation or reservation, this is where my heart is. And I know that there's something powerful, not just for us as a couple, but for us in the world, for us to do and for us to be. And so, I sent her a text message early that morning, and it was kind of a roundabout text message. I texted her and I asked her if she had any trouble sleeping through the night, because what I wanted to know, I'm like, I can't be the only one going through this. So I'm like, maybe I'm crazy, you know? I needed to know. So I texted her and I asked her, did she have any trouble sleeping through the night?
So I wake up and my phone is beside me, and I see a message, and it's from him. Now, I was at peace, right? And then I see a message from him, and I had a choice to make. Okay. I had a very important choice to make, because not only did I write about the qualities that I wanted in a mate, I wrote about who I wanted to be in that relationship. And who I wanted to be was open and honest and vulnerable and there. And so the choice that I made was to respond. I made the choice to be vulnerable. And I said, yep. Decided to get up and pray around 4:30-ish. I know why I was up. Why were you up? Are you okay?
And so my response was, I'm good. I'm still processing. But again, I was in this moment of, I get it. I get why we came together. I get why our relationship was so easy. Because there was something bigger that we were supposed to do. We have this ease in the way that we work. When we first met, we were doing work. We worked on some songs that Yolanda had written, and we co-produced them together. And it was just an easy thing. We would finish each other's sentences. I would always know what she was thinking. We would just look at each other and have conversations. And I recognize now that, right, as we're creating something together, as we're creating an organization together, as we're leading together, the way that we work together, it was necessary for us to be able to create what we've created today. And so I said, I gotta have this conversation with her. We actually had a studio session that Saturday. And after the session was over, I said to her, I was like, you're probably wondering like what my text message was about. It probably seemed kind of weird.
I said, yeah.
And I began to tell her a little bit about what I call my burning bush experience, right? My life was flashing before my eyes, and I was seeing our relationship differently. And again, I was completely fearless, telling her these things, assuming that she was dating, assuming that she had already moved on, but knowing that I needed to speak these words to her. What was your reaction?
The beautiful thing about it and the scary thing about it at that moment was the words that he sang were word for word what I had written. And so I sat there in awe. I sat there speechless. And I sat there wondering again, another opportunity to be vulnerable, I could say, because there was that ego place that said, yeah, you still feel for him to make him suffer. Because of the pain you felt. And so I had to make a choice again. Will I be vulnerable? Will I be open? Will I remember I'm safe? And so I told her that whole story about being awake, about writing out what I wrote out, and about having still feelings that I felt.
So that's how we got to where we are today. But what I want you to understand, when we talk about the second time around, this is a beautiful story about, a couple, they broke up and 6 months apart, they come back together. That's not really what this is about, right? Because, okay, you may be in a situation where you're not with your partner, and you may want to get back with your partner, or you may experience that. But what I want you to understand is that sometimes the second time around is about, you had an argument on Monday, and now Tuesday is the second time around. How are you choosing to be now, right? The past is over, it can touch me not. Are you going to bring yesterday into today? Are you going to bring last week into this week? Because it's the same choice. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be fearless. You have to recognize that you're safe, that you have nothing to defend. You don't have to create a wall and protect. Yes, your partner may have said some ugly things. They may have done something for the 10th time that you thought they wouldn't do. Are you going to hold that against them? Are you going to be their shamer? Or are you going to recognize that God doesn't condemn, neither do I? That's what the second time around is about. And so even as we stand in this vibration of having come back together, and that was 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago now, we recognize that every day, real talk, even just this past week, we have to choose again, right? We butt heads, we might disagree, but then do we bring Monday into Tuesday? Do we bring Tuesday into Wednesday? But no, every day, literally every day, you are being reborn. It's an absolute new opportunity. We only choose to bring yesterday, last week, last month, last year, my whole childhood into today. We make that choice. It's not here. This 24-hour period is a brand new 24-hour period. Tomorrow you get a brand new one to do whatever you want to do with that 24 hours. But this is how we play the game of life. And then it can become fun. Because sometimes, some days are crazy and you want it to end, but you know you got another 24 coming. So you don't have to trip out, right? It's like, okay, this 24-hour period, I made some choices. Maybe my vibration just wasn't where I needed it to be, and so things started falling downhill. But I can start again tomorrow. I'm going to be reborn tomorrow. And so you allow your body to rest. You set the intention to wake up in joy tomorrow, and so you shall wake up in joy tomorrow.
You know, this series has been all about writing your own lesson, right? And we talked about how you do that with self-love, the idea of creating a holy relationship, not a special one, of examining the beliefs that we hold about love. And the mind really is, it's kind of like a record. You get these grooves set, right? You get these ideas about what it's supposed to be and how she's supposed to be and he's supposed to be, and what the love is supposed to be based on what we've been told, based on what we see on the screen, based on what we hear in these lyrics. It's kind of like the Hindu idea of samskara, these impressions in the mind that happen sometimes in Hindu belief over lifetimes. You know, I believe in therapy. I believe that you can go in and you can talk about these things that happened in the past, and you can figure out these patterns, these beliefs that we've held. But it doesn't take a lifetime in therapy to realize, okay, what beliefs did I hold? How do I know that those are beliefs? Because those same things played out in every relationship that I ever had. It's the same thing, and this is not to make you feel guilty. Not at all. It's actually a good thing. It's an opportunity to say, oh wait, I get to try this differently. This is the things that I kept creating. These are the beliefs that I held, but I no longer hold those beliefs. And if God doesn't hold any beliefs about me other than I'm perfect, whole, and complete, then all that stuff is gone. I get to create a new in this moment, a new relationship. That's good news. Every choice establishes your identity. Right? Every choice. And so you choose to be as God created you. You choose again and again and again and again. That's just the way life is. That's the joy of it. Nothing can be held against you. I want to close with this thought. It's talking about this idea of choosing again. You always choose between your weakness and the strength of the Christ within you, the strength of the light within you. And what you choose is what you think is real. What you choose is what you think is real. Simply by never using weakness to direct your actions, never using the defense mechanism, you have given into power. By letting go of the defenses, you allow power to be. Trials are but lessons which you have failed to learn, presented once again. So where you have made a faulty choice, make a better one. And escape all of the pain that those choices have brought you. Choose again.
That I ask everyone to stand. Vibration of choosing again, knowing that life is simply an unfolding of choices. And we can stop the pattern, we can stop what is displaying in our lives, what's taking place in our lives by simply making another choice and witnessing the power of that choice shifting and changing our experience. So, Mother, Father, God, in this moment I stand in appreciation for the power of choice that we all have. I stand in appreciation for each and every person in this room and within the sound of my voice as choosers, powerful choosers. And we are choosing this day to choose and make choices from a place of defenselessness. We are choosing today to make choices from a place of knowing that we are safe and protected, that there is nothing that can hurt or harm us. There is nothing that can diminish us. There is nothing that can corrupt us. There is nothing that can make us smaller. We are absolute power. We are absolute light. We are bigger than even what we can see or imagine. We choose from that place. We choose from the place that we have done nothing wrong, that there is nothing to be ashamed of, that we are blameless. We choose from that place. We choose from the place of remembering and recognizing that you do not forgive because you do not condemn. Therefore, we choose no longer to condemn ourselves. We choose no longer to put ourselves in jail. We choose no longer to shame ourselves. We choose no longer to disappoint ourselves and those that we love. And we choose to stand in the perfection, recognizing that we remain as you created us. Birthed into this world perfect. Leaving this world perfect. Living in this world now perfect, whole, and complete. And from our perfection, and from our completion, and from our wholeness, we are choosing now to stand in this awareness and this reality of the second time around for our very own lives. Because first we remember that we are in relationship with ourselves. And so we are choosing in this moment to stand in the second time around, making today, this new 24-hour period, an opportunity to love ourselves differently. An opportunity to see ourselves differently. An opportunity to walk in this earth differently, with our heads held high. For the past is over, it can touch us not. story of the past in our mind and no longer bring that into today, or no longer bring that into tomorrow, and no longer bring that into next year. We hold ourselves as free. We hold ourselves as free and live from that place as free people, free minds, free lives. And it is from that place of freedom that we shall live a joyous life. It is from that place of freedom that we shall live the life that we absolutely desire. It is from that place of freedom that we can laugh and play all day. It is from that awareness that I now pass the prayer.
Mother, Father God, I declare and decree that I and everyone in this room now remembers ourselves as you created us.
Yes.
I declare and decree that we have done nothing wrong, and therefore we can rejoice in our purity and in our innocence.
Yes.
I declare and decree that we are safe to live and explore and be and love and create on this earth. We are safe in you, Mother, Father God. And we say, Mother, Father God, because we realize the infinite expression created us. Created us perfect. Created us in a way that we can go out and extend our light on this earth. In whatever way we choose, and we choose love. In whatever way that we choose, and we choose peace. In whatever way that we choose, and we choose abundance. In whatever way that we choose, and we choose joy. Joy in our relationships with our significant others, with ourselves, and with anyone we come in contact with. We are always in relationship with you. We look at and see your eyes in those eyes. We look at and hear your voice in those voices. We look at and feel your arms in those arms. Thank you, Mother, Father God, that we are expressions of you. And from this place of being an individualized expression, we open ourselves to give and receive. We open ourselves to see things differently this time around. We open ourselves to choose again and again and again in you. We open ourselves to this now moment, and we say with joy and appreciation,